What's up, folks? Will here with another tyGraph video. If you're looking to find the best user to promote content, engage a certain audience, or admin a Yammer group, then you've come to the right place. Today, we're going to demystify a score that's perfect for that, the tyGraph for Yammer influencer score. We created the influencer score to highlight those Yammer users who are not only contributing, but also have users responding to them, and thereby are engaging other users in collaboration. Now today I'm going to go through two common examples for how customers will use this score, and then for you hardcore tygraphers out there, I'm going to break apart the nuts and bolts for how this calculation works so we can understand the value that is assigned to each user that we see in the visualizations. So for the first example, let's say that we have a new customer service guideline and I've written it up in a PDF document. I've posted it to Yammer and I found that our article gained great traction across the organization, except perhaps with our developers. So to solve this problem, what I really want to do is either share our original post, but target our message this time to developers in our company. And so we may even know the groups that these developers are working in, but we still want to make sure that our message lands well. And so if we can identify a relevant influencer in that department to either share our message or at least get their advice on it, it'll definitely help us build credibility with that team and improve the success of our campaigns. So the way that we can do this is to go to the recent activity page, and I'm going to open up the filter pane on the right-hand side. And I want to search for a department in here, our developers. And we can see that there's actually a lot of different titles or departments even within development. And so I'm going to switch to advanced filtering. And let's just say any cases where the department contains development. And then I'll hit apply. Great. So now we're just taking a look at users inside Yammer that are from dev teams. From here, I want to choose my target group. So we mentioned earlier, it's a customer service initiative. So rather than looking in some of the other groups that they might engage in, I know that they work a lot inside this customer service group. And just from selecting this, I can now see that the most influential user by a decent margin is this Kian user. So now I can reach out to Kian and say, hey, I'm not sure if you've seen our recent guideline. I just want to hear your thoughts about it. And if you'd be willing to share this post inside your group and get some feedback from your team. The second example that I have is also quite simple. I'll just unselect our global customer service and erase the department. So as I said, the next example is also equally simple. And let's say that I want to split apart a group or start a new one, and I want to find someone who is influential to be able to lead that group. In this case, let's use our top group here that has the most engagement, and that's real-time talk. Sometimes what will happen is you'll get a lot of tangential conversations within a particular Yammer group, and it can deteriorate a little bit from the purpose of that group. It's not to say that the conversations that are going on there are invalid. It just means that we want to be able to perhaps split those off so that people could find that conversation more easily and keep the conversation within this real-time talk group focused. And often this will happen within groups with a lot of engagement. So in this case, I want to split apart the real-time talk group. I've decided how I want to do it, but I want to find an influential user to admin this new group that I'm going to create. And if I was to look over at the most engaged members visual on the left here, my first guess based on just engagement alone would be that I'd pick Karma or Jody to be the influencer that I would want to pick to found this new group. However, if we look over at the most influential users within the group, we can see that actually neither of those users are really that influential. I think Karma's in the top 3, so that's not a bad option. But Sam or even Shay doesn't even show up just at the bottom of the most engaged users inside this group, so they're less obvious choices. However, because of the way that the influencer score works, it actually highlights that these two users are gaining a lot of responses to their conversations. People are liking things that they're posting. And so I would actually say that one of these two users or both would be a logical and better choice to be able to found that new group. Finally, as I promised, I'm going to now break apart the influencer score calculation. Let's explain how it actually works. So the influencer score, it actually combines 4 sub-calculations, and it does it for each user. So each sub-score awards points to a user, and it puts emphasis on collaborative actions that that user could be taking, and a lot of which are outside of the user's control. So for example, if I receive replies or people like messages that I post, or if a lot of uniquely different people respond to my conversations, I will have a high influencer score. So to break this down, the sub-calculations are breadth, contribution, impact, and reach. And we add up breadth, contribution, and impact, and then multiply that by the person's reach score, and then all that gets divided by 100. So first up, let's talk about breadth points. This is the number of groups that you're actually engaged in. So if I join a whole bunch of groups in Yammer, I'm still not going to be rewarded for that. I actually have to be an active or participating member inside of those groups. Next up is contribution points. So we assign a weighting to this. If you are making announcements or starting threads, you'll be getting more points, and we can see that here, 3 points, 2 points, and then we devalue actually likes, so they're only worth half a point. So for users who are just going on and liking everything, there's not as much value placed on those sort of actions. Next up, impact points, and this one is very neat. This awards you points for likes that you're receiving on your messages, replies that people are giving you inside conversations, or mentions that you're receiving. And as I mentioned earlier, those are all things that are totally outside of your control. So in fact, back before we had the influencer score in the early days of tyGraph, we used to use just the number of @mentions that you would receive as a proxy for influence. I think we can all appreciate that if people are @mentioning you in Yammer, they would like your attention about something, and so it's a pretty good indication of someone's influence. In fact, I'd encourage you, if you're also interested in seeing the number of mentions that users receive, you can flip over to the network page, and you'll see that we actually still list members who are the top mentioned members who are mentioned the most often. Finally, let's talk about reach points. So reach points are the unique number of people who you've interacted with on threads. So if I'm having a giant conversation, even if it's in a public group with the same person and we're just messaging back and forth, I'm going to have a low reach score because I'm not actually engaging or reaching a lot of people. It's just me and my friend yammering away inside of a private or even public group. It doesn't matter. And so not to say that there's a time and place for that in Yammer, but we just don't consider that to be influence. So someone who has a lot of reach points, or the way that you gain reach points, is by having those collaborative experiences with a broad range of people inside your organization. All right, folks, so hopefully that takes some of the guesswork out of picking the best users to be adminning these groups or sharing conversations, especially if you're trying to target a certain part of your organization. If you have questions about what you saw today, as always, feel free to reach out to me in your tyGraph customer network private group or in the support email. I'll include it in the article and the description for this video down below. Thanks so much.